That was
What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Auburn Blitz podcast here on this Monday. Brett and Wade, Uncle T-Bone, by a lot of other accounts, depends on where he is and who he's hanging out with. So Wade Bennett with me this morning here on the Auburn Blitz podcast, and we're glad to have everybody that joins us. Again, thanks to our main partner here on the Auburn Blitz podcast, Sense of Green, for air that's cool and clean. Call them Sense of Green. They are your carrier dealers. What am I talking about? I'll let the man talk about it. Wade, Sense of Green.
That's right, Brett. Thanks for having us. Sense of Green, proud sponsor of the Auburn Blitz and the Auburn Blitz stream here. www.senseofgreen.com. It's about to get cold again. We normally say for air that's cool and clean. This time of year, Lake Martin and whoever is watching, we'll get to you for air that is warm and clean. Call Sense of Green. Up to $1,600 off a new carrier system right now in rebates. That is hard to beat. We are East Alabama's premier carrier dealer, and we will take care of you. And if you're having trouble getting in touch with us, just get in touch with me. Yours truly, Uncle T-Bone, and I can promise we'll do our best to get to you.
Absolutely, and glad to have Sense of Green part of our podcast here in 2025. Wade, there's no doubt where we're going to start this morning. Another road win for Auburn, 66-63 over South Carolina, a game South Carolina team that had their backs against the wall starting off 0-2, and they thought they had a home game. It didn't sound like a home game, and if you heard Nick Pringle in the press conference say, man, I went to the free throw line and it's a pretty tough environment in there. And, it sounded stupid out of the gate, but then you go back and listen and see some of the clips and how loud it really was in there when he was shooting those free throws. It was like he was on the road. But Auburn wins 66-63, but it was a costly win. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. Nightmarish scenario with about 13 minutes to go in the first half. You look at Janai Broome is the leading candidate for Player of the Year, and he goes down with a nasty ankle sprain, and it looked, we've all turned our ankle, we've all stepped on somebody's foot, and it hurts, man. There's different degrees of these things, but when he started grabbing it and the way it turned over, you were just concerned that it may have fractured or dislocated or something like that. And we found out, obviously, yesterday that that's not the case. It's a non-surgical sprain. They haven't really given a time frame. You can guesstimate 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, but it depends on how severe it was. And obviously it's pretty severe, but there is nothing broken. It doesn't look like there's any damage. So that is a positive right there because, look, let's just be honest, not to be doom and gloom, but you take the best player, and I said this Friday, ironically, on this podcast, you take the best player off any team in the country, and they're not the same team. You could take Mark Sears off Alabama. You can take Janai Broome off Auburn. You can take Zakai Ziegler off of Tennessee. You can take, I keep going down the list.
Taylor off of Texas A&M. You saw it Saturday night.
That's it. Wade, I mean, the bottom line is you're still a good team, but you're not the team that you were with that particular player. So, look, unfortunately, we'll see what's going on with that. Hopefully get some more detailed information. But obviously, Auburn's got to turn their focus over to Mississippi State coming in here on Tuesday. And again, really good basketball team. It lost a close one at home to Kentucky, but that's the way it's going to be every night in this league.
Physical league. Never seen anything like it. Their teams are just getting after one another. Up and down the league roster, all 16 teams are just pounding on one another. I mentioned Wade Taylor the fourth not playing for Texas A&M and them not being the same team that they could be or they are when they played against Alabama Saturday night at home. And that I watched that game too, Brett, and it was another example of a very physical basketball game. And that's how it is in the SEC right now. It's almost like the old Big East.
Right.
Just teams are borderline about to brawl in every basketball game in conference play. I said it to a few weeks ago on the Auburn Blitz for Auburn to win a national championship in basketball or to be prevented from winning one. A couple of things, or at least get to a Final Four, a couple of things would have to happen. Injury, number one, got to stay healthy. Well, this is the second injury for Janai Broome, and this one's more severe than the first, I'm afraid. Keeping it between the buoys emotionally. I kind of felt like South Carolina got in Janai Broome's head before he even got injured watching that basketball game. And then, some team just having a monumental effort or just being red hot and really good, like in Alabama shooting threes or Cooper Flagg up in Duke having a night, or the guy at Texas the other night just having a night where he's just filling it up and you couldn't stop him. Before Janai Broome gets hurt, though, Brett, in this game, he played 24 minutes, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 6 points. It's not like he was having a world beater night. And, when they tipped off and got to playing, I texted a friend of mine immediately and said, Auburn looks tired and they look like they're not really up for the challenge emotionally today that they have to be at now, being the number one team in the country, probably, where they have a target on their back every single night. South Carolina played 7 players in that game, Brett. 7. Yep. And the guy who Broome was guarding the majority of the night.
Look at my Murray Bulls, man. He had an unreal
36 minutes, 7 boards, 2 assists, and 25 points.
Well, this is 2 games in a row that we had a player go off. And look, that's his 4th time scoring 20-plus points. So we knew he was the guy. We knew that Nick Pringle was, we already knew what Nick Pringle was last year at Alabama. He's a scrappy, tough inside player. But you're right. The energy wasn't there early in the game. But that's what we talk about this all the time. You got to play 18 of these things. You're not going to go out there every single night and have the same energy, or every afternoon or whenever the game is. You're not going to have the same energy. It's human nature. And look, it's hard not to look over and see that they're 0-2, and they're not. They got their doors blown off. Two games prior to that. So I mean, the bottom line is that you probably, from a mentality standpoint, we can go in there and maybe not give the max effort. That's what Bruce Pearl was trying to guard against in the press conference, Wade. He said, look, we've got to go out here and worry about what we do and not worry about our opponent. And look, credit them. Again, Todd Pettiford stepped up. I thought Dylan Cardwell stepped up, knowing that Janai Broome wasn't coming back in the game. You can go down the list. Chaney Johnson is a scrappy player, but Todd Pettiford, I don't know that I would want anybody else on the line with the game on the line than Todd Pettiford, man. And that's a mouthful with a freshman. I mean, but every single time, man, he comes through.
Silver lining to the injury to Broome, this gives Bruce Pearl and his staff an opportunity, in my opinion, to mix in a few new combinations of players.
Right.
And I don't want to say experiment, because you're in league play and this is no time to experiment about it, but to mix in some new combinations, possibly new starting combinations with the rotations. And Brett, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm just going to go ahead and be Randy Lee Jr. here and say it. It's time to start Todd Pettiford. Let's get him there, and let's get Denver Jones back on the 2. Let's mix in some smaller lineups with Pettiford, Kelly, and Denver Jones, all dangerous three-point shooters. Let's get some rebound. Our defensive rebounding against South Carolina was pathetic compared to what they did to us, and we never could get into transition. And you know what I like to say about Bruce Pearl and transition, baby? That's his bread and butter.
He couldn't. Well, again, out of sorts. Justin has a comment here talking about he feels good about Pettiford, Miles Kelly. And by the way, Miles Kelly, once again, had 14. He had 18 the other night. If he doesn't score, the way he scores against Texas and against South Carolina, we don't win either one of them. So that's the silver lining that's going really under the radar here. Is Miles Kelly's performance to be able to hit big threes, and he comes out really swinging. Out of the gate, he hits a couple big shots in Texas. He hits a couple big shots at South Carolina. So we're underselling him a little bit. We talk about everybody else, but Miles Kelly just calmly comes out and scores, 12 to 15, 18 points a game. And you got to have all of them. Needed every one of them. Besides those three, what other players need to step up to fill in? I mean, obviously, Chaney Johnson needs to step up.
I think he can, and I think he will. I mean, that man's transformed his body in 2 years at Auburn into a.
That's what Glenn just said. Got to step up
into a physical player. I'll tell you who I'm looking to step up, and he hit a massive three-pointer late in that game. It's also time to unleash some Ja'Kai Howard. Okay,
well, he's getting more and more. Hey, look, that was another point I was going to make, but not to cut you off, Wade.
Sure.
He is working himself into this rotation, and he looks part of this team now. Again, we've all been critical of his body language and things, but man, he is finding his way, and man, he is aggressive, and he is a major piece to this team moving forward.
Well, Brett, listen, I know that the first couple of games there was some body language issues. I haven't hardly seen it since, but if we're going to talk about body language in behavior on the court and cast stones at Ja'Kai Howard, isn't it about time for Janai Broome to kind of get that under control as well? And I love Auburn, and I love Janai Broome. But early in that game, it's 2-0. South Carolina scores. He takes the ball inbound to throw it in, and he's got a scowl on his face like he had just been roughed up by Bill Lambier. I mean, listen, this is a super talented team. And when I talk about keeping it within the buoys emotionally, I think it's going to have, I believe CBM has done a fantastic job this season compared to last season with his controlling his emotions. And I know Janai Broome gets beat on and gets hit in the face. And we saw it at Texas, that terrible missed call with that. I don't think it was intentional, but it was still a foul. And riding the referees to get a technical, allowing Texas to get back in that game, this would be a good opportunity for him while he's sitting on the bench, rehabilitating that ankle, to take a good look at the game and get his emotions under control. Because if he doesn't, that's going to cost us in a big moment down the stretch.
Well, and he's always been that way. And the thing is, and he's been criticized about that, and you can allow that to take you out of a game. And look, it cost us in Tuscaloosa last year, if you'll remember. I mean, that game was –
when they went hack-a-shack?
And again, it's how you handle it. And if you're Janai Broome, you have to almost go into these games expecting, that's what they want to do. And Chad Baker-Mazar, like you said, I think he's done a great job of coming out of that immaturity and wanting to always figure out a way to start a fight or get involved in some type of altercation or whatever.
I call it lashing out.
Well, no, just know that it's going to happen. And just figure out a way, like you said, to emotionally keep it between the lines and not get taken out of your game, because that's what they're wanting. When a team, and this is South Carolina, when a lesser talented team comes in, they're going to try every single thing they can to get an advantage, because they don't have an advantage talent-wise. They probably don't have an advantage coaching-wise, so they're going to try to do the little things to get you out of your game.
That's right.
And when you do that, you play down to their level. And look, again, it's a rock fight every time you go on the road. I don't care who it is. South Carolina's probably one of the worst teams in the league, and the records will show that when the season's over. But that doesn't mean look, there's going to be some other teams out there. Their records aren't really pretty, but if you don't show up and you allow them to get you out of your mental state as far as what you're doing, they can beat you. And Auburn did find a way to close it out. And Wade, they're doing that by hitting free throws. They did it in Texas. They did it at South Carolina. Coming down the stretch, that's been an Achilles heel for Auburn for years, is not being able to make free throws when they need to. And this team is making free throws, and it's winning games for them, especially on the road. Now we come back home, and we play a very good Mississippi State team. Now, before we dive into that and move forward, the polls will come out. Will Auburn be number one today?
Real quick, Brett, on the free throws. I agree with you. Late Tahad Pettiford knocks back key free throws, and CBM's a free throw machine. But the Tigers go 6 from 12 at the stripe, which is kind of boggling my mind that they were only there 12 times in that physical of a game.
I'm talking clutch time free throws.
But Janai, this is going back to Janai Broome.
Right.
In the last 3 games conference-wise, he's missed multiple free throws. And I think that his emotions are carrying over to the free throw line as well. And if he gets hit late or too many times in a key situation, he's going to have to be able to knock back some free throws late, like Tahad Pettiford did for Auburn, to move forward with any kind of championship run. And in Missouri, and you said it, the rock fight, Missouri gave the recipe, but they were on the road at home, and Auburn just had too much for them. Get really nasty physical with Janai Broome and the Auburn Tigers and attack the rim. Attack the rim, attack the rim. That's what South Carolina did all night. I couldn't understand it. I was like, just clog up in there and let them fire away those threes, because they're not a great three-point shooting team. But, one way I think you got to combat that, get offensive rebounds. You want to combat physicality, get fast up and down the court and get in that transition game that Bruce Pearl's known for.
No doubt about it. I mean, you gotta be able to contain your emotions, especially in the key moments of the game. John said, next player up. Coach Bruce has been through this before, and he will rally the team. There's no doubt. John, I mean, we said it just a minute ago. This is still a really good basketball team, but it's not the same team, because you're taking 19 points a night away from your team. I mean, it's like when your best running back goes down, or your best wide receiver goes down, or whoever it is in football. When you take, and it may even be more detrimental in basketball because you only play in 5 and you got a smaller lineup. And when you lose the best player on any team, it's going to affect in the way they play. And obviously you got to go find 19 points now, whether that's, and it's going to have to be split up.
It'll be spread across the board.
It will be, but you've got to go find it. So, but like you said, Wade, now there's more opportunities for players to mix it up. And again, somebody's going to be taking more shots now, because he's not going to be out there taking those shots. So is it Denver Jones shooting the ball more? Is it Tahad Pettiford? Is it Ja'Kai Howard getting more shots?
I think it's all of the above.
It's going to be all the above, but I would look for Chad Baker-Mazara to become more of a centerpiece. And he really stirs the drink, it seems like, when Auburn needs a boost. He is the guy that they look to get the basketball to, and the basketball runs through him to other players. So it'll be interesting to see Tuesday night when they bring Mississippi State in here, who really is the dog on the court, who's going to be the leader.
I don't think that Auburn will make the fatal mistake. This coaching staff is way too talented and experienced and fantastic at self-scouting. They won't make the mistake of continuing to try and play the same style they play with Chaney Johnson that they do with Janai Broome. This will look completely different in just a couple of days. And all this will do, if Janai Broome does come back full strength, is give Auburn that many more weapons of resource to change things up in tournament time from matchup to matchup. So there is a silver lining here. You were mentioning number 1 coming out today in the polls, Brett.
Well, right on cue, Jeff said Bet they jumped Duke over Auburn. The national media is already moving the narrative to Cooper Flagg better than Broom. Now, he had 42 points, and they needed him because, I mean, he had half their points. And I went back and looked at their box score, and, what did they win that game by, 6 or 8 points? And he had a great game, obviously. But, look, I think Auburn fans inherently feel like they're always going to get the short end of the stick. And, it seems like there's always something like Saturday that happens right before Auburn seems to be able to take the mantle, to be able to take the banner, to be able to grab hold of the top of the mountain.
It's a 4-letter word, Brett.
I know.
You want me to go ahead and say it
just
here?
Throw it out there.
JABA, baby, Java.
So, and I think everybody on here watching knows that. And, look at it. I mean, Justin said the same thing. He said, I'm calling it too. Duke will be number 1 today. And they had look, Auburn's been behind Tennessee this whole time. Everybody in the country knew and felt like, and the narrative was Auburn was better than Tennessee, and they were. The resume was better. Everything across the board was better, but the only difference is they were undefeated. We weren't, but they had not played near the schedule. But the media just couldn't bump them down, being the only team left up there that was undefeated. So now they lose and get their doors blown off by Florida on the road. And it's a perfect opportunity for Auburn to finally grab that. And I'm not saying they aren't. The national media may say, look, but with him going down and just like you said, Jabba, and the way most Auburn fans feel like they're already expecting to get the hose, I would not be surprised if Duke isn't the number 1 team. Ed said, can we all agree there's a fine line of controlling our emotions and letting a team bully us? Because the coaching staff is big on not letting teams control the game physically or mentally. Here's the thing, Wade, that we haven't talked about yet, and that's rebounding. So far, Auburn's done a horrific job on the boards, and we've been beaten inside. And, look, that's going to bite you eventually. And I don't know what the fix is because you had Janai Broom. You're going to be without him for a while now. But Dylan Cardwell, you had Chaney Johnson, you got Chad Baker-Mazar. This team prided itself in rebounding last year.
It sure did.
So far in 3 games, it hasn't been the case. And, you just lost your big man inside. So I don't know where this team goes. I don't know what challenge Bruce Pearl issues, but you better figure that out.
Auburn loses the rebounding battle in totality against South Carolina Saturday, 37 rebounds to Auburn's 33. But the big discrepancy was offensive rebounds. South Carolina catching 15. It seemed like more than that. Auburn 11. That's way too many second chance points, opportunities for opponents. You said it last year. Auburn, Ed, was the bully. And with the physicality that we have in Chaney Johnson and with CBM and with Cardwell and with our guard length, it's time to kind of get back to us being the bully and not letting teams dictate us. One thing that I did see in that game was it seemed to me, and Lamont Paris is pretty well known for this, he likes to get his opponents into his game where he's dictating the style of play. And I felt like Auburn got too far into that half-court offense and slowing it down too much. Auburn is a physical, fast, talented bunch. They have got to start getting in transition. I think it's the magic bullet for all of these issues for Auburn and getting back to getting on these runs where all of a sudden they put up 12 and you've put up 1 and it's 32-11.
That's it. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, you said it. I think last year Auburn was the bully. Right now they're not the bully. Great opportunity for us to talk about another one of our bunkers in downtown Auburn on West Glen. Wade, you've been out there with us. Phenomenal place. If you've not gone to bunkers yet, the food's outstanding. They got one of the best bars, if not the best bar in all of Auburn. And then they've got all the single bays that you can go and rent out. Take your buddies, take your friends. They'll deliver the food right there. You don't have to leave. You rent out the thing and you get to to play simulated golf. It's just a cool place to go and hang out, especially right now when it sucks outside so bad. Playing real golf, go in there and hang out in the nice, warm environment and have you some nice drinks and some great food and some great fun at Bunkers. So great place, and appreciate them. Again, Sense of Green, also our lead partner here on the program as we came in. Sense of Green for air that's cool and clean. Call them Sense of Green. They are your carrier dealers here in the state of Alabama. You move forward now, and some more comments coming in. Glenn said AU does a lot of runouts for fast breaks. John said hide and watch. AU will rally. Other players will shine. The team will be fine, even stronger when Broom returns. And I saw a lot of people talking about that. A blessing in disguise, Wade, if you get the prognosis that he's only going to be out a few weeks, and he comes back a little bit more rejuvenated, could end up being, look, you're going to drop some games in conference play. We knew that anyway. And it may be the situation where Auburn doesn't win the regular season. But you know what? I trade winning the regular season for us to finally get our act back together when the NCAA tournament rolls around and for us to make a run, because this is a unbelievable team. It's maybe a once-in-a-lifetime team in this day and age of college basketball with this many seniors mixed in with this many high-profile freshmen. Need to take advantage of it. Again, I'm not trying to fast forward to March already, but I am kind of looking into the future and seeing where Auburn has faltered the last few years, and it's been the first round or the second round of the NCAA tournament. It hasn't been pretty, and you don't want that to start becoming a trend. No. It's just 3 years now that Auburn's battled that, where they've had great seasons and they've hung banners for conference, tournament champions and regular season champions, and they peter out in the first or second round of the NCAA tournament. So I trade a few games here to get our stuff together. And I'm not saying that we have to do that. I'm just saying if I had my rathers, I'd rather have my stuff together going into March and make a run in that tournament.
Couple of things on that. I was asked when Auburn had this ridiculous run before conference play this season, had they peaked too early? My answer to that is no, and it's because signifying that someone's peaked too early means they can't make that type of run again, and this team can easily get that hot again at any time. You want it to be obviously at the end of the season in the NCAA tournament. I hate to put it like this, but I'm about over the conference championships in basketball. Last season proved to me that if you get the wrong people on the committee, and I have to question some of their motives last year and our placement, by the way, that they just put no value on winning an SEC championship, either regular season now or tournament. To get a 4 seed after what Auburn did in that SEC tournament last year after that long, awesome season was a crime.
Right.
So, screw those tournaments, Luke. Don't even play the first game. Just go home and rest and get your seed, because it doesn't seem to move the needle either way, especially if you've got some people that, I don't know, aren't really pro-Auburn on a committee. So, I would just rather Auburn grind through the season, not even hardly worry about the conference championship as long as they've got good standing with a high seed in the SEC tournament. I mean, in the NCAA tournament, and make sure they get right. But that's a long ways from now, like you said, Brett. I mean, we've got almost 2 months now before we get to that NCAA tournament, and there is an opportunity here for Auburn to get kind of some other players battle seasoned and right and ready for that tournament. They're going to start Tuesday night, though. Mississippi State's no joke. They took Kentucky to the mat at home. This is a team that beat Auburn last year, albeit at home. And Josh Hubbard, their guard, he's one of the most dynamic players in the SEC. He's a Wade Taylor the fourth type player.
Right.
But across the board, they're scoring points. Cameron Matthews, Ford against Kentucky, 19. Melendez, Ford, he's athletic, 14. Michael Nwokwo, the center, has 10. Claudell Harris has 13. It's not like Josh Hubbard's going out there and putting up 42. They've got a lot of talent, and they're not a one-man band. And they're a very well-coached and tough team as well, just like almost every team in the SEC.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They just came up a little bit short at home against a really good Kentucky team, and now they come to Auburn. So, look, you have to turn the page in this league, whether you win it or you lose it. The next game can be a loss if you mull over it too long, one way or the other. We saw last year Auburn beat, at the time, South Carolina was the best team in the league. They beat them by 40, and then a few days later, Kentucky came in and beat us. And that was game day and all the hype and everything. So Glenn said 3 seasons of basketball. You got the regular season, the conference tournament, and then the NCAA tournament. If I had my rathers, I'd like to, go toward the focus of the NCAA tournament. I mean, I'm glad that Auburn's been able to hang some banners conference-wise the last several years, whether it be the tournament or the regular season. But yeah,
what you're saying, Brett, is speaking as an Auburn fan and a lifetime Auburn fan, you're very thankful for what's happened. We're not trying to say that, it's not important in where Auburn basketball is and what Bruce Pearl has done, but we're hungry. We're hungry again. We got a taste of it in 2019. We knew we were making another run in 20 when COVID cut us short. That was a shame.
Right.
That team was really like the 19 team, beginning to form and get ready for get hot at the right time. So we're really hungry for another deep run because it's a ton of fun. And all it does is continue to give this program, which is an elite program in college basketball right now, more credibility.
Yeah, no doubt. Jeff said, was that a shot by Nate Oates in his post-game press conference Saturday night at Broome? I read it, and look, I'd like to say, and Justin just said the same thing. He said, I'd like to think it wasn't a shot. I'm sure he knew Janai Broome. They hear things, coaches hear things. That news probably traveled immediately through the conference that, hey, Janai Broome went down with a leg injury. But he made a comment after his game about one of their players wanting to be back on the floor and suffered an ankle injury, and he's a team player, and, he wanted to do everything he could to be back out on the floor. I mean, it's bad timing, if anything, and it's like Justin said, he's not the best with PR. And Nate Oates is kind of a weird acting dude in press conferences, and he's always, he's kind of uncomfortable and jerking around, and you can look at him over there. He's got a tick on the sideline, and his mannerisms. I'm not trying to take a shot at the guy, but he's a great basketball coach, but he's definitely not a guy that likes. And I don't know many coaches that do like to sit up and take questions. And sometimes when you're awkward, Wade, in front of crowds, things come out of your mouth, and you're like, "Crap, that didn't sound right." And I'm not saying that he did it intentionally or not. I don't know. Only he knows that. But Justin is right. I mean, his PR is terrible, and he comes out at the worst times, it seems like, when you go back and listen to the Brandon Miller stuff and how he said some things when all that was going on. He just doesn't handle things really well.
Well, Brett, let's be honest. Nate Oates is probably the most talented offensive basketball mind in college basketball right now, or he's up there in the top 5. Heck of an offensive mind and coach. Done a wonderful job over at Alabama. Came in with a program over there that was getting its ass kicked by Auburn and tried to immediately start throwing haymakers to gain some type of relevancy again. That being said, I also think he's extremely awkward and pretty much a blowhard about a lot of things. Great coach, but I'm going to sit here and really think on Monday morning that he was sitting there all day waiting for an opportunity to take a shot at Auburn after an SEC night game in a press conference because Janai Broome almost broke his ankle? No, I don't believe that. If so, then they're not going to win any kind of national championship with him if he's worried about that kind of stuff. That's the last thing that I think that Nate Oates was worried about. I think he was just trying to tell folks he was really proud of his guy for coming back out there. And you trying to tell me if he was taking a shot, and I don't think he was, that Janai Broom didn't want to be back out there on the court.
Right,
That'd be
right.
one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Did you see him over there cheering his heart out for his team after the game? The guy almost broke his ankle.
I mean, I totally agree that, I just think it was bad timing. And, you put things together. In Auburn and Alabama always seem to be, both sides think the other's taking a shot at. Exactly. So I just think he's just trying to say, look,
to take anything.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, look, he's just talking about his own kid. All right. Around the conference on Saturday in the SEC, just kind of run this down.
Sure.
Vanderbilt goes to Missouri and knocks off and Missouri handles business at home. We said that no problem there.
Brett, that Missouri team is going to give people problems. Bruce Pearl said it in the post game, after the Auburn game. He meant it. He wasn't just trying to make excuses for them not covering the basketball game like everybody thought they would. That is a long, physical, mean, and tough Missouri team. They're a bunch of brutes. They're a bubble team, and they're gonna give some people some problems beating them up day in, day out in the SEC. Yeah,
Florida travels to Arkansas, and John Calipari finds himself 0-3 in league play. I don't see it getting much better for them.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You saw a team like South Carolina that was desperate, 0-2 in league play, did not want to go to that 0-3, which is going to be hard to dig out from the bottom of the SEC. Arkansas gave Florida everything they wanted, just not enough. Florida's a fantastic basketball team.
Yeah, Florida's really, really good, man. Look, we said it Saturday on the Saturday Sports Countdown. Wouldn't be surprised if they won the league. I mean, that's how much I think of Florida. Tennessee travels to Texas, and we were wondering if there'd be a hangover after they got their doors blown off and back on the floor. And Texas is a scrappy team. We saw what they did to us, and it took us every minute in that game to get a win. But here's the deal, and I called this. Kaluma had 34 points against us. He had 4 against Tennessee. And that's about what I expected to have happen. We always have somebody go off on us. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, we talked about this the last couple of years. Every single team there on about a 3-week run had a guy go for about 25 or 30 and carry a team and make it a close game against us. Kaluma, he won't sniff 34 points the rest of the year. You can mark it down. But he had 34 against us, and it was almost enough to win the game. But they only lost to Tennessee by 4. If he'd have had half of the game he'd have had against us, they would have beaten Tennessee easily. So just your thoughts on this Tennessee team. I mean, they are a good basketball team, and obviously everybody in that little upper tier of the SEC is really good at home. But on the road, man, they're very vulnerable. They just offensively don't impress me very much.
I just kind of feel like they're your typical Rick Barnes team, Brett, that they're going to easily make the tournament, and they're going to disappoint. They're always this close to being the best, but they never quite get there. It's really good, but not just good enough. This Texas team 0-3 now in league play as well. Another team at home that was 0-2, trying to not get to that critical 0-3 mark, desperate not to do it. And they're a very, very talented young basketball team. That Texas team is, with extremely solid young guard play. By the end of the SEC season, I think they're going to be a team that's going to be dangerous. But they're going to have to fight hard to get into that tournament now. Tennessee continues to march forward. You know what you're going to get with them. Zakai Siegler's going to play solid basketball. Everything runs through him. If he has an off night, they just seem to fall completely off the radar.
Oklahoma, welcome to the SEC in football, and welcome to the SEC in basketball. On the road at Georgia, lose 72-62. I think they're 0-3 as well now. Yep. So just again, Georgia now 2 big home wins for them against Kentucky and currently 17th ranked Oklahoma, not going to be ranked when the polls come out today. LSU goes to Ole Miss. LSU's horrible. They're the worst team, I think, in the league outside of, I know
they're the worst team.
They're the worst team by far. But
hey, we'll see that Georgia team on Saturday, Brett.
Exactly right. I mean, a scrappy Georgia team.
Yep. But Auburn has dominated over there for years now under Bruce Pearl. It would be a good day to go ahead and continue that this Saturday.
Alabama at Texas A&M. Again, Wade Taylor IV didn't play in the game. Alabama won 94-88. Texas A&M fought back in that game, got down pretty big, and fought back, just ran out of gas at the end. And, again, that was a top 5 matchup, a number 5 versus a number 10. And kind of felt like, you take the best player off anybody's team, you're going to suffer the consequences, and that's what happened.
If you take Mark Sears off the team and Wade Taylor's playing, that score is probably reversed. Right. And that's not a shot at the rest of Alabama's team. They are extremely deep, and having young blood back healthy, he gives them a little bit more of a physical nature. Alabama's easily one of the top 5 teams in the country. But when you go against Texas A&M, Wade Taylor IV or not, that Buzz Williams is going to have a game plan for you because that guy can flat out coach. Heck of a dude and heck of a coach.
Yeah, Mark Sears had 27 in that game, but Phelps had 24 for A&M, and Payne had 23. So
Phelps did the majority of that damage in the first half.
Right.
Really keeping A&M in that game. I think he got a little too selfish early in that second half, took some ill-advised shots and tried to take too many shots to keep that heater going. Alabama got a little bit of a buffer then, and once Phelps got back under control, Texas A&M came back and gave the Tide everything they want. That's a heck of a good basketball team in A&M and a very, very good team in Alabama.
Yeah, for all of us Auburn people over here, John brings up Holloway's playing pretty good. He is. I'll be honest with you, I was a little skeptical, but he had 15 points. They needed all his points, too, to get that win. And he is playing better basketball. I know that's a cuss word around here. But
I think Alabama's playing about as good as they can play right now. They're hot, that team, and they're not peaking either. That's a team that'll, just like Auburn, will have some lulls in this difficult schedule and be looking to get hot again in the tournament. But as for Aiden Holloway, good luck to you, buddy. And quite frankly, good riddance. You didn't want to be here. We don't like you. We don't like your face. And we can't wait till we see you in Neville Arena to end the season, pal.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. It probably won't be a lot of fun for him. Moving over to Tuesday, obviously we play at 6 o'clock, Mississippi State, very good basketball team. Doesn't matter where you play them, you better play good. Ole Miss will go to Alabama. Again, no rest for the weary, right? Ole Miss, a pretty good basketball team. I think they possibly will move up in the polls. Texas A&M and Kentucky, they will play. Texas A&M going to Kentucky. And then Missouri at Florida and Arkansas at LSU. That's on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, South Carolina at Vanderbilt, Georgia at Tennessee, and Texas at Oklahoma. So that kind of wraps that up, Wade. And, again, Mississippi State, we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing what happens with Janai Broome and what goes on. But, Wade, we'll close it out here on the Auburn Blitz podcast. We got a busy day today. Auburn Blitz will be on the air at noon, as always, with Andy and Jim. I know you're coming up this week, Wade. You'll be on with us on Friday. Appreciate you falling in and filling in, not falling in, but filling in for Randy.
Are we going to do the show this Friday?
Absolutely.
Are we going to have time for that?
Why wouldn't we?
Okay, I was just making sure because I know we got an appointment.
Yeah, well, you're right. We do have a meeting. It won't be you and I. It will be Andy and Randy. So
it'll be that next Friday.
Correct. You make a good call. Yeah, I don't think we can get all that in 2 hours.
Yeah, I love coming up and being on air. That's a fantastic show. Check it out, everybody. Well, any social media, the Sports Blitz, that's the Auburn Blitz show at 12 o'clock. Sensor Green's a proud sponsor of that show too, and had great results in it. So if your business looking to market, these are the people to do it, folks.
Yep, absolutely. And we appreciate Sensor Green very, very much. Obviously, we appreciate Bunkers, and we also appreciate Sign Source and Lee Apparel down in Dayville, and now a new location just signed on this past Friday in Auburn. So looking forward to that building opening up. And
that's Lee Apparel gear right there, folks.
Good
On
stuff.
a cold, rainy day.
Quality stuff, man.
High quality, man. Randy Lee and them, they take care of you down there. Real quick on tomorrow night, I'll be at that game, Brett. I can't wait to see the Tigers in person. You mentioned the takeover in Columbia by Auburn fans. I didn't get this in earlier, but I think it's easier for Auburn fans, at least in the approximate vicinity of Auburn, meaning about a 250-mile radius, to get tickets to away game.
No doubt.
Tickets at home.
That's absolutely the truth. Absolutely the truth. That's why we've taken the place of Kentucky fans. Got to go on the road to see your team play. That's a good thing. So, Wade, appreciate you joining us this morning, being on the program. We'll catch you soon. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening, and we'll be back with you tomorrow morning for another edition of the Auburn Blitz podcast. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for having me.